if you can see me and hear me, leave a comment, please. Let me know where you're coming in from. I'm trying to make sure my internet is working. We've had some, well, the internet in Armenia leaves a lot to be desired. We've got the fastest internet you can get. Well, usually it takes like 30 seconds before it actually comes on live. So let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me. We'll wait. I'll wait to see if anybody's. Oh, okay. So I'm up. All right. So we're live. Sorry about the wait, folks. The internet is being a little glitchy here today. I'm in Yerevan, Armenia, and I didn't want to be on for long. I just wanted to share with you some interesting tidbits from today that I learned here in Armenia. And I was reading wait, here. I know. I wanted to show off my new grandbaby. There she is. Oh, and she's not happy. She's not a happy grandbaby because she doesn't have her mama. Yeah. Oh, come here, baby. Oh, look at that sweet, precious one. Isn't she great? She's the best thing ever. She's just wonderful. She's probably sitting on my microphone. Who's that over there? Who's that over there? Do you see Mama? Oh, yes, I know, precious. Yes. Yeah. You see Grandpa? Oh. She's probably ready for something to eat. Okay. Anyway, is that not the cutest thing ever? All right. So you may have known that yesterday was International Women's Day. A lot of people have heard about that. What you might not have known is how it got started, where it came from. As it turns out, International Women's Day was declared by the United Nations. And the reason they chose the, whatever that day is of March, what was it, the 4th, 8th of March, as International Women's Day is because it's the beginning of it's the beginning of Women's Day from the former Soviet Union. It was a communist undertaking. And the United Nations decided that that would be a great idea. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with celebrating women, of course. I think the world would be a pretty bleak place without women in it. But it's just interesting to find out that International Women's Day coincides with the Communist Party's celebration of women. They didn't do Mother's Day per se in the Soviet Union. They did just Women's Day for wives, sisters, mothers, lovers, mistresses, whatever. And if you have to buy flowers for more than one of those, you might be in trouble. But so I thought that was interesting. But here's something that's even more interesting. As we look at Russia today, I read an article this afternoon that was talking about how politicians in Russia have all given their Women's Day speeches, and many of them are saying that the best possible gift you could give a woman on Women's Day is a new pregnancy. You heard that right, folks. A new pregnancy is the ultimate gift for the woman in your life. Now, that'd be pretty awkward if it's your cousin or something like that. But why would they say that? Now, before you get all hot under the collar and start jumping up and down and saying how chauvinist that is or whatever, think about it for a minute. All I have to do is look at that absolutely angelic baby that I was just holding. And I certainly would agree with anybody who asserted that a baby is one of the greatest gifts that one can receive in life, without a doubt. But if you ask yourself, why would politicians be encouraging people to go make babies? Well, that's because Russia and many countries in this part of the world, many countries in the civilized world, are in a state of terminal decline. Now, this is something that somebody asked me a while ago on one of the first lives that I did. What do I think is the biggest risk to the world today? And I said, demographics, I think, is the biggest risk to the world today. The civilized world is, well, they've turned everything good into something bad and everything bad into something good. This is the curse that the Bible calls depravity. It says that in I think the first chapter of Romans, that when people deny God, God gives them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not be done. Depravity says that everything good is bad and everything bad is good. Things, if you want to know whether or not something is evil, all you have to do is ask yourself, does that thing lead to life and flourishing, or does it lead to death? And almost everything that leads to life and flourishing these days is considered to be bad. Having a baby, well, I mean, just look at the issues that many people on the left sort of make their terminal issues, their most important issues. Abortion, death. Euthanasia, death. Assisted suicide, death. Even the climate change leads to death, because you're not talking, people are, we got to save the planet. Okay, that's great. But how do we save the planet? If you listen to what the environmentalists say, well, we got to stop using oil. What happens if we stop using oil? The death rate goes up. The infant mortality rate goes up. Life expectancy goes down. That's a proven fact. If we go back to the 1880s, the average life expectancy was in the 40s, in the like mid to late 40s. If you made it to 50 years old in the 1850s, you were doing pretty good. So, and if you look at any country, as their fossil fuel use goes up, life expectancy goes up, infant mortality goes down, average income goes up. All the things, all the markers of life and flourishing improve. So when environmentalists say that we need to reduce our fossil fuel, we need to get off of fossil fuels, what they're really saying is that we need more death. And they'll say it. You can hear Bill Gates and guys like that on their TED Talks talking about the maximum number of people that the world can sustain for a sustainable world is 500 million people. That means we need to get rid of 7.5 billion people. And they're going to do it through abortion, birth control, euthanasia, gay marriage. I mean, because you can't have babies, right? They're going to do it through even maybe vaccines, if you want to be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. But without a doubt, all of the things that they point to do not increase human flourishing. They do not lead to more life. They lead to more death. And so for countries like Russia especially, Russia is in a state of terminal decline, meaning they're beyond the point of no return. Russia really could not come back from this unless they did nothing but make babies for the foreseeable future. And they're trying to increase their birth rate. As a matter of fact, Vladimir Putin has declared 2024 to be the year of the family. And he's encouraging, he's given speeches recently where he said, it is the duty of every Russian woman to go out and have as many children as possible for the Russian state, because they see it coming. They're trying to increase immigration into Russia. And even with a massive increase of immigration into their country, they still declined by almost 1 million people over the last year. So if you listen to people like Peter Zeihan, he'll say that there's no coming back for Russia. Russia is in a state of terminal decline. They will disappear as a race. Now, there will be people living in that region, but they won't be Russians anymore because the Russians are not having enough babies to replace themselves. This is the ugly underbelly of the blessing of birth control. With the ability to control getting pregnant, really what has happened is many people, you see the cat back there, many people have decided to push off having kids or forego having children altogether. And the aggregate effect of those decisions is that the civilized world is dying off. You know, I went to speak at a church in California several years ago, and I walked in and I saw something that was very curious. The place looked like what is that cat doing over there? She's tearing up that box. It looked like a massive daycare center or something. There was just a tremendous number of kids, like 400 kids and only 100 adults, something like that. And I was like, what is going on here? So I was talking to these 3 men standing around talking. They were all in their 30s. And I was like, there's a lot of kids here. And they're like, yeah, we're a neonatalist church. I was like, neonatalist, what's that? And they said, well, we have taken a look at the demographics and the fact that Americans are not having enough children to replace us, at least the way things are going. And we see an opportunity in that. We feel like this is an opportunity for conservative Americans, Christian Americans, to retake politics in America by outbreeding liberals. Liberals don't have kids, by and large. You know, they're either gay or they don't see children as a blessing, by and large. And so, you know, on aggregate, liberals don't have very many children. They don't have enough children to replace themselves. And so our idea, this guy was telling me, is we're going to have as many children as possible, and then we're going to politically retake California. And I was like, wow, good luck with that. And between those 3 guys I was talking to, they had 30 children. 3 guys in their mid-30s, and they had 30 children between them. One had 9, one had 10, one had 11. I was like, wow, you guys are serious. Liberals, for their part, have said, well, we're just going to, we'll get them when they go to school. I was on a radio program once years ago, and they brought on another guy who was part of some organization that was trying to convince college kids to sterilize themselves and not have any children. Just live your life, enjoy yourself, don't have any kids. And I said, well, what's the point of that? And they said, well, our objective is that someday, if we can get enough people to do this, that the world will go back to being without any human beings on it, like it was originally meant to be. And I was like, meant by whom? Who meant it to be that way? And he's like, oh, Mother Nature. I was like, so you're anthropomorphizing nature now? You mean God? Oh, no, we don't believe in God. So who do you believe in? Well, nature didn't intend for human beings to be here. Oh, really? Then how did we get here? I mean, what a stupid argument. So I just said, you know what? I think you got a great idea there. I think you and all the people like you should definitely sterilize yourselves. And people like me, we're going to go out and have as many kids as we possibly can. And pretty soon there won't be anybody left that thinks like you. And then that'll be a good day. And he just said something that I've never forgotten. He just very calmly said, that's okay. We'll get your kids when they go to school. And well, he's not getting my kids. My kids all were homeschooled all the way through. But there's an ad for homeschooling in that, without a doubt. So, yeah, God should open and close the womb. So, Susie May says, don't think the environmentalists today are not simply saying get off fossil fuel. We have more technology than ever. And the idea is that we replace with safer alternatives. Susie, there's a very good book on that topic. I understand where you're coming from. A very good book on that topic called The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. And assuming that the data that they cite in that book is accurate, and from other research I've done, I don't see any reason to doubt that it is. There are some things about fossil fuels that you don't hear in the news very much. Number one, take a guess how many years of fossil fuels, if we keep using fossil fuels at the same rate that we're using them now, and we don't increase our use of fossil fuels anymore, but we just keep it right where it is now, how many years of fossil fuels do you think we have left before they're gone? Just with, let's assume that we don't find any more of them. We don't find any more oil, any more natural gas. How many years do we have left of fossil fuels? Well, according to the book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, we have about 3,000 years left of oil and gas at current rates. And we are finding more all the time. And we are finding more ways to get more out of the fossil fuels that we already have. So it's very likely that for literally the next few thousand years, we will have no problem with fossil fuels. Now, here's another statistic out of the book. What percentage of fossil fuels are being replaced currently worldwide by alternative sources of energy, wind and solar and things like that? Anybody have an idea? What's the percentage of power generation that's being taken over by alternative sources of energy? Anybody know? I'll wait till we get a couple of answers here. Maybe we should ask Siri. Do you think Siri knows? There, oh, I don't have my Ruby. You have to log in on your laptop. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Siri. Hey Siri, what is the total percentage of alternative energy being produced in the world? I don't know if Siri knows that. She probably doesn't know. She doesn't know. 10%, 35%. People are saying Denise is close enough. Ricky is even closer. Yeah, it's something under 1% right now. If we were to what's the current situation? Okay, I'll talk about Armenia in a minute. It's less than 1% worldwide. I'm talking about worldwide, folks, not in the United States. In the United States, about 6% of America's fossil fuels have been replaced by alternative energy sources. If we covered the state of Nevada, the entire state, which is one of the larger states in the union, if we covered the entire state of Nevada with solar panels, that would bump up our total amount of energy produced by alternative energies by about 1.6%, according to this book, if I remember my numbers right. It's not actually feasible for us to, with current technologies, to replace everything with alternative energy. But you say, well, but fossil fuels are so dirty. They're so terrible. Well, the book goes on to show that in places where fossil fuels usage increases, the environment actually gets cleaner. So places where you go from not using fossil fuels to using fossil fuels, the environment actually gets much cleaner. Think about Africa, where they don't have a lot of fossil fuel use and so how do they cook? They burn wood, or they burn dung in many cases, right? All that smoke and everything in the air. Here in Armenia, there are a lot of people that still heat with wood, and they heat apartments like this, or like houses like this, sometimes with wood. So you go into the house in the wintertime and the walls will just be black with soot. You can imagine people having to breathe all that in. If they could switch over from burning wood for heat to burning natural gas for heat, just like that, the whole environment gets cleaner. And you might say, well, but it would get cleaner still if they heated with alternative energy sources. Well, perhaps, but there just isn't enough of them out there. And there won't be anytime in our lifetimes, most likely. So this goes back to the conversation that everything that the left holds up as a virtue leads to death. Abortion, euthanasia, gay marriage, assisted suicide, and the environmental movement leads to death. Because what we're really saying, if we say that we have to shut down our power plants and try to go solar, is that we have to use a lot less power. And using less electricity leads to a dirtier environment, leads to a higher death rate, leads to a higher infant mortality rate, and lower human flourishing. An increase in electrical usage correlates to an increase in human flourishing. That's my point. And I've studied that extensively. So I think it's interesting that Russia and Armenia and a lot of countries, especially in former Eastern Bloc countries, are now frantically trying to get their women to make more babies. I've seen, where was I? Oh, in Sweden, I think, or maybe Norway, a few years ago. And they had billboards up begging people to make more babies, have babies, go out there and make babies, right? Well, we're doing our part as the Holtons. We've got 4 grandchildren in less than 2 years. And so, yeah, Mr. Commento says we're using less power. They're just charging us more. It seems like everything I have is Energy Star rated. And it doesn't help, does it? As far as what you're paying for electricity. Look, I've got no problem with finding ways to make things more efficient. Efficiency is a very good thing in any discipline. However, is she getting fussy? She needs her grandpa. Yeah. Oh, she sneezed. Here, can I see her again? I haven't gotten to hold the baby very much today. So let's see. Usually I just hold her until she starts crying, which doesn't take long. And then I give her back. So these, now I want to talk, Rubina, sit down right here for a second. I want to talk to you about that. Oh, sweet precious. This is a little Aurora. Aurora was supposed to be born like yesterday, but she was actually born like 3 weeks ago. So she's still just a brand new model. Sweet baby. Isn't she precious? So come here for a second. I want to ask you about the program they have. Okay, so this is Rubina, my daughter-in-law, and it's her baby. Oh my goodness, is she not the cutest thing ever? Oh, man. Yeah, I know. Grandpa's not near as nice to lay on as Mama is. Oh, yeah, he's a sweet baby. Oh. So, Ruby, Armenia has programs to try to encourage mothers to have babies, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me about that.
So
You got to speak up because the microphone's right here on my chest.
As an Armenian citizen, first of all, because I'm unemployed, my whole pregnancy and giving birth and everything is free in Armenia, so I don't pay anything. And then in my 7th month of pregnancy, I receive money, about maybe $400 or $500, which is a lot of money in Armenia.
Yeah, that's a lot of money here.
So I received. Hold on, just a second.
She's all right.
Okay.
She's okay.
Can give her to grandma. Yes. So I received about $400 or $500 in my 7th month of pregnancy, and then when the baby is born, the government gives me again about $800. And then for 2 years, I receive money monthly.
And if you have more babies,
yes, the more babies you have, the more money you receive from the government. And also, if you have, I think, more than 7 or 8 kids, you can use public transportation for free, and then your kids can go to college for free.
You can ride the bus for free if you have 8 kids.
Which is a big deal here. It is a big deal. If you live here, you take buses everywhere.
That cracks me up. That just cracks me up. Yeah. Okay. Hey, little Aurora made $5. See, she made $5. Thank you to whoever gave $5. That'll go to the Starving Aurora Fund.
Why?
You're a sweet baby. What's the matter? Oh, poor baby. Oh, look, she can't hold her head up.
Oh,
yeah, go give her to grandma. So, here in Armenia, they are starting to understand they need to encourage people to have more babies. And now in the United States, we're not quite at the terminal decline point yet. We are close. We're getting there. The birth rate is steadily going down very slowly. Do they pay for your sanity having 8 kids? Yeah, no, they don't pay for you to go to the loony bin after having 8 kids. Yeah. Can you imagine riding the bus with 8 children? Holy smokes! You might need your own bus if you had 8 kids. They just give you your own bus. Here you go. This is your mass transit. You bring the mass, we bring the transit. That's so funny. Yeah. So I mean, it's a huge deal. So unfortunately for Russia, there's really almost no way that they could have enough babies to get out of this terminal decline. It's just it'd be impossible. They're dying too fast. And so one of the reasons, most likely, why Russia so badly wants to take over Ukraine is to bolster their numbers, to add another 40 million people to their tax base. They need it. Oh, gee, poor baby. I'm so good at making the girls cry, especially. Everybody's got to have a talent. Yeah, so Japan has got the same problem. Japan is likely going to be populated by robots in the next 30 years because they're not having babies either. And think about that. Just think about that. One of the most precious gifts, I would say arguably the most precious gift that a human being can have on this earth, in this life, is to have a child. And this absolute superpower that women are gifted by God to create new life within their bodies. And in our culture, we're starting to treat that like it's a curse. It's one of the greatest blessings on planet Earth, and we treat it like it's a curse. This is a real problem. This is the kind of thing, 60 million babies aborted in America. And I just read yesterday, even after that Roe v. Wade was rescinded, after the Heller decision, the number of abortions has not declined in the United States. Even though 14 states have outlawed it, there have been 30 states that have enshrined it in their state constitutions, and the number of abortions has not actually declined in the United States. So we are killing off one of our greatest assets. That may be one of the reasons why the left is so frantic to fill our country with migrants, because we need people to work, to pay the taxes, to support our retirees. And without that, the whole system collapses. So, how do you feel about the idea that the best gift one can give to one's wife for International Women's Day is a new pregnancy? I just thought it was that's a headline-making comment by these Russian politicians that are saying this. But they're also saying, don't give your women flowers. Donate to the war effort, and we'll give our women flowers after we win the war. So, all right, very quickly, let's see if there's any questions. I want to go back up here. Nate, did you see any questions coming through?
Not anything that really caught my attention.
PC says, we will visit Armenia next year. Sure looks so lovely. It is a lovely, lovely country, PC. And we actually have a few slots open on our trips in May and June and September to Armenia. So if you'd like to come with me to Armenia this year, we're going first week of May, second week of June, first week of September, I believe. And you are welcome to join us. If you are interested in joining us and coming to Armenia, we just drove up to the northern part of Armenia today to Lori province, and it is spectacular. Debbie says, I'm 65, I'll take the flowers, thank you. Lori says, why not just ban abortion and close the border? Well, if I was president and had my way, that's what we'd do. But unfortunately, people don't listen to me. But anyway, if you'd like to come with us to Armenia, we do have some slots open, and you can...
The Armenian situation with Azerbaijan.
Oh, yeah, okay. Or you can just email me, hotzoneholton@gmail.com, hotzoneholton@gmail.com, and I will send you the information about joining us in May, June, or September in Armenia. So somebody asked about the situation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It is still tense. Azerbaijan has still been agitating, I guess, against Armenia. They killed 4 Armenian soldiers about a month ago in a clash out on the border. We're going to travel out there and go out close to the Azeri border to see for ourselves what it's like, and I'll bring you a report on that once we do. The people here in Armenia are obviously very concerned about the threat to their east from Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan is openly talking about taking over Armenia, or at least part of it. And Armenians don't really have anywhere to go. Armenians certainly don't want to be Azeris. And so when Azerbaijan starts talking about Armenia as Western Azerbaijan, that causes some heartburn here.
Also, they wouldn't be Azeris because if Azerbaijan invades and takes over Armenia, they will kill every single Armenian.
Right. So, Nathan says that Azeris will likely kill many Armenians.
No, they want to kill all Armenians. They just want to
okay.
wipe them all out.
And so it's a concern. But it's safe enough to travel here. It's safe enough for our tours. The area where the front lines are is a good several hours drive from most of Armenia. And so, I don't feel at any risk. It's actually very, very safe here from a crime standpoint. Very unlikely that you're going to get robbed or, something like that here. Driving is crazier than some places in the United States and not as bad as Panama. So it doesn't bother me too much. Denise says, do you have a plan to get your family out if need be? We do, and we've talked about it. It certainly is a concern, but then again, I'm always, kind of thinking that direction anyway, wherever I go. The oldest church in Singapore is an Armenian church. Yeah, you find Armenian churches all over the world. I've seen them in Syria. I've seen them in Georgia. I've seen them in Ukraine. I've seen them all over the place. Yeah, isn't Aurora cute? What a blessing she is. Her name, Siphon, is Aurora. Let's see. Is there a man's day? Not here. There's not. I guess the women would say every day is man's day.
It's hard to find good men in that's kind of the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for honoring women and Mother's Day and whatever. That's great. My wife's like, meh, whatever. She feels like, if you have a healthy relationship with your family, your wife, mother, sister is going to feel honored and loved and doesn't need a special day for it. Do you have is it safe to tour Israel right now? I believe it is. I'm going to be heading there probably next week, and we'll be bringing you reports from Israel. I don't know. I will let you know if the tourism is starting to come back. It's difficult for hotels because there are still over 100,000 people that are evacuated from their homes in the north and a bunch more in the south. And all those people are being put up in hotels in Israel. And so it makes it hard for tourists to find a hotel to stay in because all the hotels are taken up with Israelis, paid for by the Israeli government. Can you tell us what the connections are in Armenia to the early church? Well, so Armenia is Teresa says, will you go to Armenia next year? Absolutely. We'll probably do tours for the foreseeable future every year. So if you can't go this year, you could go next year. That's Connie in the reflection right there. She keeps walking back and forth, and she's in the reflection in that window. So the connection to the early church. 2 of the original 12 apostles apparently came to Armenia and started to evangelize here. Then there was a man named Gregory the Illuminator. And in the 4th century, Gregory the Illuminator came to Armenia and started to preach the gospel. He was, at the time, Armenia was a pagan culture. They were Mithraic. They followed, there were animists, and there were Mithraic Roman tradition pagans. There's still a Mithraic Roman temple here called Garni that we go see on our tours, over 3,000 years old. when Gregory the Illuminator came, he started to evangelize, and the king didn't like that. The king threw Gregory the Illuminator in jail, and threw him in a hole in the ground, a pit, and left him there. He was there for more than a dozen years. After like 13, 14 years, the king got sick, and they believe it's some sort of mental illness. And so with that mental illness, nothing could, he was like, eating grass out, in the yard and stuff, thought he was a cow. I don't know. I believe it's his sister, the king's sister. They tried everything and nothing would work. And so JD Singh, the cost for our trip is about $2,000. That's all inclusive for 10 days, not including airfare. So you get yourself to Armenia, and then we pay for everything on the ground, lodging, food, transportation, entry, everything, guiding services, you name it. And it's about $2,000 for 10 days. So we try to keep it as cheap as we could. So thank you, One Tired Mama. Appreciate you. So then Gregory the Illuminator, the sister of the king, asked him if he would pray for the king to be healed. He agreed to do so, which was a great act of forgiveness, if you think about that. And then he prayed for the king got better. And so the king then pulled Gregory the Illuminator out of the hole, cleaned him up, and said, the king was converted to Christianity, and said to Gregory, you're welcome to go and preach Christianity throughout the land. By that act of forgiveness, eventually Armenia became the world's first Christian nation. In 301 AD, there was essentially a revival, or not a revival, a vival, because there was no re to it. And people came to Christ en masse, and the whole nation declared Christianity. So Armenians are pretty proud of that. Unfortunately, there are many Armenians, I would say the majority of Armenians, who consider themselves to be Christian, but don't know the first thing really about what the Bible says about being a Christian when it comes to putting your faith, your trust in Jesus, submitting yourself to him, being obedient to his word. And so, if you go to an Armenian and say, I'm here to show you how to become a Christian, they're going to say, why would you bother? I'm already a Christian. And you say, really? Tell me about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they'd go, who? They don't know. They don't know some of the just foundational precepts of the Bible, because they go to church, maybe they listen to it's this, if you go to Armenian Apostolic Church, it's a fascinating, very ancient liturgy, but it's very liturgical. And so you go and you basically do the exact same thing word for word every Sunday, more or less. And so I feel like I'm treading a little too far into trying to explain Armenian Apostolic religion, because I'm not a priest, and I've studied it. I've talked to those people. I've spent years here. I've gone to many of the services, so I can just tell you from my own experience. It seems to me that many of the people who are even devoutly Armenian Apostolic would not be able to give you a solid answer for how you get to heaven, or what the Bible says about God's word. They are very moral people. They're fairly modest people. They are, that just like many American Christians who grew up with Christianity, they considered themselves to be Christians because my mom and dad were Christian. But Christianity is not like that. If you want to go to heaven, you got to paddle your own canoe. To the throne, to the cross. You've got to submit yourself to Christ. Thank you, Donna, for becoming a supporter. And your parents can't do that for you. They can't baptize you into Christ. That's something you've got to choose, because Christ is a gentleman. He's not going to force you. You're not going to be coerced in any way, shape, or form into choosing to follow Christ. It's like joining the military. You have to sign on the dotted line. It's up to you. Nobody else can make you do it. So, hi, sorry I keep bothering you. Can you please visit my church in the Bronx? I'd love to visit your church in the Bronx. That'd be fun. I do a middling amount of speaking anymore. I don't do as much as I used to, but I do speak at churches. If you'd like to have me speak at your church, just contact me and I'll put you in touch with my agent and she'll set it up and we'll work it out. I don't have as much time to speak as I used to, but I enjoy it. I spoke a couple days ago at a church here in Armenia, and I'll be speaking tomorrow at a church here. I will put up a video of the speech that I gave the other day, and you can watch it. I'm going to go through and edit out all of the translation into Armenian. That ought to make it a lot shorter and a lot easier for somebody that speaks English to watch. So anyway, I'll put that up. All right, so that's all I've got, folks. We are. I apologize for not doing more lives. I'd like to do one every day, but the internet situation here in Armenia is just terrible. They just don't have. They do have ubiquitous internet pretty much anywhere you go, but it's not high enough bandwidth that you could do a live video broadcast. Here at my son's house, he's got blazing fast internet, probably the fastest that you could get in Armenia. And so as long as I'm here at his house, I can do lives, but it's kind of boring, I know. I would love to take you around Armenia and show you the lives. I'll show you live from downtown Yerevan, from some of the monasteries and stuff. But we just don't have the bandwidth to do it. So I'm sorry about that. I should be headed back to Israel before too long, and then I'll be able to resume my daily lives. And there's a lot to talk about with what's going on in Israel. There's a lot to talk about with what's going on in Ukraine. So Patricia says, I do not agree. We can baptize babies through our faith. Well, that's just not what the Bible says. So you can disagree with me if you like. I'm just saying there's nothing in the Bible that says that you can baptize children into the faith. You cannot force a child to be a Christian by baptizing them with water or in any other way. Now, many people baptize their children and dedicate them to God, which is a promise that the parents are making to God that we're going to raise this child as a believer. We're going to raise this child in a Christian household. We're going to give them everything we can, to try to help them make that decision for themselves to follow Christ. But you can't be forced to follow Christ. You can't be, sprinkled with water and voila, all of a sudden you're a Christ follower. That child that got sprinkled has every ability to just jump, throw the ball over the fence, Christianity wise, and take off and go follow Satan. If you want to follow Christ, if you want to be one of his, you have to make that decision yourself. There's just nothing in the Bible that says that decision can be made for you. If I'm wrong, show me. I've read the Bible from cover to cover many times, and I just don't see any place in the Bible where it says that your parents can drag you to heaven with them against your will because they sprinkled you when you were a baby. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I'm not trying to be contrary. I'm telling you, please enlighten me. Show me in the Bible where it says that. You don't get to heaven against your will because God's not a tyrant. Okay, didn't mean to get off on that subject, but God bless you all. Internet Starlink should be in Armenia. Do you know, have you heard anything about Starlink being here? Do you know? I have not seen anything about Starlink here. Many places over here, it's still illegal. If it is legal, I'm going to definitely bring one with me because I'm going to have to get one of those. And if I did have Starlink, then we'd be cooking with jet fuel, man. That'd be great. We'd be going live from all over the place. So I tried using Starlink from Burma, but there were like 50 people that every time they turned it on, they would all jump on there and start downloading movies and stuff. So, you know, it didn't, I didn't have the bandwidth to go live that way. All right, folks, thank you for watching. Please hit that like button. I also wanted to point out that I've been putting a lot of photographs and stuff like that from my trip to Burma over on my website, chuckholton.com. So you can go over there, you can subscribe and get notified for free. You can also sign up to support my work, and I certainly appreciate that. I am putting some stuff up that is only available to supporters over there. But if you don't have the money to do it, don't do it. I'm certainly, we're doing fine, but it is very encouraging when people do support us. So I appreciate that. And so I miss you guys, and I'm going to try to do more lives as I can. And so stay tuned. All right. God bless you. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.